reaching out to Joe Buck, asking him, offering him $1 million, mind you, to do play by play for a porn, a video, mind you, not just the site. It's not like he's going to be the voice. I get it. And his response is better than anything that came from the initial story of just the offer. I understand, and I'm not here to say anything bad about Joe Buck. The lone time I interviewed the guy, he was fantastic, seemed like a really down to earth guy, contrary to what everybody thinks. He's a pain in the ass, he hates my team, et cetera, et cetera. But why are we trying to, and again, maybe it's the pandemic, right? Maybe I've been inside now coming on 6 weeks and my brain is turning against me. But why are we trying to add play by play to so many things? Play by play is the enemy. And I'm not anti anybody specific. I'm just saying, whenever the mics go out or whenever there's a technical failure or whenever they offer that second or third channel option, usually on like a college football game, a major event in sports, you get the ESPN Plus offer where it's like just the game, not any play-by-play or color comments. And look, I'm not just singling out play-by-play. I'm talking about the color guys as well. But why are we trying to add this right down to dogs eating? And I'm not here celebrating that anybody's out of work or anything like that. I get the necessity of play-by-play. I'll never win that battle as a whole is concerned. But all of these things now in the pandemic, it's, well, let's add play-by-play here. Let's add play-by-play here. And it's like, okay, cool. I miss Doc Emmerich's voice too. But do we really need to infuse play-by-play with so many different videos? You watch. If at some point, because they're not deemed essential personnel or they have to call it from a bus or some studio, as we've seen already, a lot of telecommuting when it comes to other countries calling major events here where they're not physically here, but calling them from a distance. You're going to get that option. You're going to get more and more of an option not to have play-by-play out there. And maybe this is it. Maybe Joe Buck sees the future and thinks, all right, you know what? There is something here. There's an opportunity here to make some money. But for me, I don't know.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner.
Oh, I'm sorry, man. I couldn't hear that.
Rocket Mortgage.
Let me turn.
You timed it perfectly. I thought you could.
No, you know what? Maybe it's my headphones. Hold on.
Okay. So I've got 3 of them here.
Okay. Can you do me a favor? Oh, there we go. I just want to hear the
mortgage experience.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, but I just want to hear the back, just because I'll always be able to hear you better than the board.
Times like right now.
All right, that's fine. I was just adjusting the fine.
So I've got Pippen telling the story on Jordan gambling, I think you want to say.
Oh yeah, you know what though? Let me do this.
Mortgage.com. As we all
Let me do this
think about ways
Fournette
to
thing
save
first,
money.
and then we can do that. But this half hour.
There's 3 of them. I just didn't want to play the wrong one when you
Nope.
asked them.
So let's do the.
Our home loan experts
all
are
right, so
available to help you
let's do the
24
Pippen
hours a
one,
day,
and then
7
what's the
days a
other?
week.
The other one is the ignored the doctors.
Yes. And then there's one that says Jordan on his final season with the Bulls.
Yep.
Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for our.
So that's how I can. That's how I'll call for them. Pippen, ignore the docs, and then the final season.
With Chevron Techron fuel system.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh no, thank you.
Rewards points, which means you'll get to your next reward even faster. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
In the fight against COVID-19, our friends at Roll & Branch recently made a commitment to help New York State by manufacturing mattresses
Let's
and pillows
see.
and donating them to hospitals and emergency medical operations. This keeps workers employed and helps medical and government agencies prepare and respond in this moment
That's not
to
going to
support
work.
this effort and scale it to other states. They've
You
set
can
up
hear
a
that, right?
temporary code that lets you help.
No, I didn't hear anything.
Oh, you didn't hear anything.
No.
Interesting.
Send off your purchase and
Okay.
10% of the proceeds
People
will
on
go
the stream,
directly
I
to
bet,
fund set. Roll & Branch has already
That's it.
committed
That's
1,000
crazy. Okay.
mattresses and 5,000 operations, and that commitment is firm. But with your help, we can make even more.
Did you see
You
the
can
competitive
contribute
eating
$100
challenge?
to cover the cost of
Is there a new one?
I didn't.
Go to
Thought there was only
bowlingbranch.com
one.
and use code goodness to help.
I mean, there's a bunch of competitive eating competitions.
No, there was one that was like a famous one.
Oh, the 4th of July one?
No, not the. It should have gone on last night, right?
I didn't see it.
A reliable partner can
I didn't know there was going on last night.
an irreplaceable expert who represents
Now, wait
your
a second
values.
here.
A reassuring voice of reason helps
See-
you research and reach the right decisions.
Competitive
You can run your
eating.
business without running the risk.
I think this went off Friday night.
Look for the R. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
14 challenge.
This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
I don't think I've seen it.
First round.
Mortgage by Quicken
Yeah.
Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts studio.
See, this is it.
Here's a
Mike's out.
Crazy story with Leonard Fournette we're going to get to in a minute. Also, the audio has already popped out, video as well, of The Last Dance before it airs Sunday night. Sunday night at 9, which is interesting to me. Wanted to bring that up. John Belmer, of course, in the house, producing the show. And before we get to anything, at Shander Show is how you can follow along. Twitch is live and active. It's back up today. So we fixed all audio issues on my end. Twitch.tv/Shander Show. Free to subscribe, free to watch along, and all comments, be it social media or on the phone, 800-224-2004. We'll take anything as far as a conversation related. The quarantine, I was going to say competitive, but technically it's the quarantine eating challenge, opened up last night. And it begs the question, because much like the horse event, which was a total thud, I mean, that dropped faster than any anchor on any port. My goodness, was that an embarrassment. And look, I get it. There's nothing else specifically going on, so let's put it on. But even the ratings and the amount of people that were watching it would indicate nobody really cared enough. It was almost as if people would rather watch another rerun of Seinfeld, another rerun of Parks and Rec before even entertaining that nonsense. So I wonder, and Tiger King exclude that, because that is just continuing to exceed expectations of how many people have. And I still can't believe that there are people in this country who have yet to watch it and then suddenly in the last couple of days began to watch it. But beyond that, think of this. You're starting out a weekend here, right? With Joey Chestnut and Mickey Sudo, who are the top two in male-female competition respective. I wonder, as we've already grown accustomed to the 4th of July event at Coney Island, the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest, how many people actually watched this last night versus horse? And if you watch neither, then you're in the extreme majority. I understand that, and I respect that, because you and I are in the same circle, trust me. But maybe if it came down to it and you look back on your week, you thought, yeah, I missed Mike Conley in that horse final. But I sure as hell watched Darren Breeden chug down as many pretzels as I possibly could fathom this man would eat in order to advance in round one. But isn't it better? I mean, wouldn't this be, just looking at the two options, aren't these better anyway? If you laid it out, all right? I don't even know what happened last night. In fact, maybe, John, you can help me out, because I have the odds of what would happen ahead of time. So if you can find out any of the results on the spot here for round one, we can go look at that. But we already know what happened with horse, right? It was a debacle. It was a mistake that they made, and it was one that really shouldn't have gone the way. They should have thought this thing out. It should have been bigger names. It should have been people at their own gyms who at least had the luxury or capability, at the very least, of using their own facilities, even if it's some nice backdoor area that's not that sand-filled hoop you got delivered last minute from Lowe's. There's a way around that. And even still, I don't think it would have transferred as great as people think so. This, on the other hand, you know what you get. The quarantine eating challenge is pretty significant in the world of competitive eating, but maybe just a blip on our radar. At the same time, you go into that blip with very limited but realistic expectations. You go into horse with NBA players, what are you really going to get? You go into horse, now think about this. You go into a horse thing and LeBron's in there, James Harden's in there. As much as it would be a bigger pull to get you in, it's like, a blockbuster movie that has a humongous, huge, right, cast in it. The Expendables, something along those lines. And it's just the same action over and over again, looped in and looped out. Yeah, at the Philly Mick on Twitch, Horse was a complete waste of time. It was. Anybody who sat through multiple rounds of that looks back and probably expresses anger more so than anything else. But this, you go in and it's basically like watching somebody in your Zoom meeting. It would be essentially having somebody, let's say, you're having your work meeting, Zoom or any other web facility that you like now, because Zoom is under fire for their security. But you're sitting there with 4 or 5 of your coworkers, and one of your coworkers decides to just pull up a bucket of crab legs. Says, I think I could eat this 1.5 pounds of crab legs in 60 seconds. And everybody else says, what's going on here? What happened? And then after that moment of awkwardness, all right, why not? Let's see. Let's see you do it. This is it. This is what except instead of it being your random coworker, somebody that you never thought would pile up a tray of pierogies to inhale in less than a minute, you get competitive eating. And I don't know if Nathan's hot dog eating contest is going to go down this year, July 4th at Coney Island. Maybe, hopefully, if it does, it'd be without any type of fans. All right, now look at this. The first round of Horse, let's just compare the two. At Shander Show, 800-224-2004. Live on Twitch, twitch.tv/Shander Show. Horse is one player, one NBA player making a shot, and then a WNBA player trying to match it, and then Paul Pierce embarrassing himself. I mean, that's essentially what Horse was. I didn't watch any of it, but if I'm wrong, please correct me, either John or anybody else out there. That was kind of my interpretation of the event. So that's it. You're not going to have somebody doing like 360 dunks. It did not turn into a dunk contest. Not with Mike Conley Jr. out there. It turned into trying to make shots and trying to knock people out. And the same shots you try and hit routinely. So let's think of this. You and I have been quarantined now for a month, most likely, wherever you are at least. I'm working on my 6th, maybe even 7th week to be honest. Actually, no, I'm working. I just saw this. 6 weeks was Philadelphia, and I was at least 10 days where I am ahead of Philadelphia. So I'm working on my 8th week. Somewhere in the middle of this work week will be the 8th week in which I'll be quarantined inside my house, locked in. So I get it. My brain's warped, all right? My brain's out of there. But look at what you're getting. Look at the difference of what you're getting. Horse, which is, hey, I'd like to see Steph Curry, Mike Conley, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, LeBron James. I'd like to see Ben Simmons. I'd like to see Joel Embiid, big guys, like in a dunk contest with Dwight Howard. But, it'd be cool to see a bunch of centers in a game of Horse. Shooting, since we have a lot of stretch fives anyway. Shooting, maybe a three-point contest, a virtual three-point contest with centers, something along that. No, instead you got Horse, where Paul Pierce got a letter because he couldn't make a left-handed layup. Meanwhile, on the other hand, you have the first round, which went off last night, featuring a different food moving forward. And it starts with 2 pounds of bologna. You move on to the quarterfinals, 48 Oreos and half gallon of milk. Semis is 1.25 gallons, 10 pounds of baked beans. And final, basically 10 cups, 10 of these chicken cup of noodles. Joey Chestnut came in at -110. Who came in as the favorite to win Horse? I don't know. I don't have those odds anymore. They were immediately taken off the board. I think people realized that not many people were coming out and betting significantly. But that's it. How fast can you do it? You sit down Joey Chestnut all the way down to the odds-on long shot, Eric Badlands Booker at +2,000. You at least know what you're getting. Now, Leonard Fournette, I don't think understood what he was getting. But this is kind of a funny / crazy story, but it's typical Jacksonville. One thing with Leonard Fournette is vision. right? And it may not be seen so much on the field, and he's had a frustrating career, even with staying healthy. A lot of it is just Jacksonville. We don't really know what you can get consistently down there. Also, it's tough to stand out routinely as a running back when you don't have consistent quarterback play. He knew all of that. All of that. He also knew coming into this comment earlier in the week that the Jaguars have about 4 weeks, let's say, man, maybe even less than that, 2.5, 3 weeks to exercise the fifth-year option on Fournette, who's scheduled to make some decent money next year. So he comes out and says, hey, sign Cam Newton. Go ahead. We need to sign Cam Newton. And the Jaguars, who clearly are intent on losing as many games as possible, that's why they haven't even looked at a guy in Cam Newton and even bring back Doug Marrone, who outside of Matt Patricia is a favorite to be the first head coach to get fired. And I don't even know, after seeing the latest with the Fournette saga, if that's a smart bet at this point. But the Jaguars have taken Leonard Fournette's advice. They said, all right, we're going to sit, digest it, come back with an answer. You raise a decent point. At the very least, Leonard, you raise a decent point, which is your job, the offense's job, would be a whole hell of a lot easier if you had Cam Newton as the quarterback. That would, without question, is a reality that we're willing to explore. Just give us a day. We'll come back and let you know. A day turns into 2 days because you know how this thing works. Hey. Should I email him? Should I email the boss? What do you think? What do you think they say? Just let it sit another day. Okay. Now it's 2 days. Now it's 3 days. Now all of a sudden you look around and say, well, maybe I should just nudge him. Send one of those nudges, a virtual nudge, or a text. You never know. And then the response is what you have today, which is the Jags have had trade discussions with other teams about Leonard Fournette, according to Adam Schefter. You can't make this up. The Miami Dolphins tried this last year. They had a brand new head coach. He came from the New England system. He was not just going to roll over. The Dolphins realized that. The players, of course, realized that. And you saw a decent year out of Miami. On the flip side, here, in this case with Jacksonville, they're going to do everything they can to avoid paying people long-term until they know what their quarterback situation is. And I'm not defending the Jags by any means. I just want you to understand what the mentality is. It's not, oh, he's an ingrate and something that Leonard Fournette did. And look, I don't have the details, like the specifics, the ins and outs, but we would know if this were a situation even hovering around people not liking each other like Bill O'Brien. And let's be honest, nobody in that Jags organization outside of like top-level front office member has the job security to trade Leonard Fournette. So that's not coming from Doug Marrone like Bill O'Brien steps in and says, hey, we're trading our best player right here outside the quarterback. That's a big difference when you don't have any type of job security and you know basically two people in the entire organization can issue that type of demand, which is maybe we should trade Leonard Fournette. But isn't it typical comedy now? And let's look, this is the new tank team. We had it last year with Miami. They couldn't tank because you see how difficult it is week in and week out. Maybe Jacksonville isn't as dumb as we think. Maybe Jacksonville right now isn't as stupid as a fox, right? Something along those lines. Realizing that there's only one way to do this the Sam Hinkie way. At Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show. Mike Savage, 610 on Twitch. Rams coach more likely than Matt Patricia to be fired. Man, wait until you hear some of these odds. I have them coming up. Sean McVay is nowhere close to where you think as far as on the hot seat, at least as far as the odds are concerned for Unibet here in PA. Also, some audio ahead of The Last Dance. It comes out Sunday night, 9 o'clock. I know it's must-watch TV, but that's a little late. Maybe your schedule, maybe your calendar has been warped. Also, as mentioned, Miami, Tua. We'll try to go down to Miami this hour, figure out just exactly what's going on with the Dolphins' plan. It's the second level. You know what? What am I talking about?
Wimbledon has been saying $2 million.
Now, what am I supposed to say?
Which one were we doing this
Oh no, that's fine. The interview was his house, the 1140 one. Although
into this insurance, they're going to collect over $100 million from the insurance policy.
Yeah. How much easier was it for them to cancel the tournament?
Actually, you know what?
Shame on me. 'cause I thought it
Let's
was
do
going
that in the third
somewhere.
hour. Let's run them both. Let's run them at 8:10 and 8:40 in the third hour because they're shorter.
Each one's 13 something minutes. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, so then
This
we'll
was
keep
an
this
easy
hour
decision.
open
They canceled it.
and let's push
So,
the
$100+
Jordan.
million. Oh, we won't be
Let's
having
push
Wimbledon
two of the
this
Jordan
year.
cuts
All
to
in
the
favor,
second
say
half to that 40 segment. Let's do the
wanna process
Pippen
that
one. This
claim?
one.
Wake up.
Now, did you see any of the results?
Yes, I texted you. I got him. I took a picture of the results.
Oh man, I'm sorry, I didn't have my text
No,
open.
it's okay.
Let's do that here.
Best on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blog of the Boys podcast feed has daily, that's right, daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner, two-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation, and we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your
So,
podcasts. So don't miss
good
out.
news
Check
is
out the
that
Blog of the Boys
everybody
podcast
can hear everything now
SB Nation tonight.
through the stream, and it sounds crisp. Bad news is that I have to talk to people through the stream, unfortunately through my mic. So I can, in the break, if it's a pain in the ass, and if I'm like, yo, Mike, and I can always mute mine because I have it split. So my mic is split to the Comrex and to the mixer. So, okay.
I damn sure wasn't diving.
How you liking doing the shows during the week?
Oh, it's fun, man. It's easy. You know, the 2 hours just, yeah. And Ron is great because I can basically throw whatever,
Although actually no.
and
Those dudes
we
are
kind of just rip
40.
off stuff, and it's easy because we're different, I think, a lot, and see things kind of differently, and we can have humor in it too, so we can have a back and forth and it be lighter, and that's what I want. Like, I don't want it to be, you know, I'll go on a rant for like 8 or 9 minutes, and then I want it to be light for the rest of the hour. You know, I don't want it to be heavy, especially now, man.
A brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to
Thinking,
tips
what
on
else?
keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Aton.
Mike's hot.
All right, 10 minutes from now, we'll let you hear a couple of clips ahead of time for Sunday night's The Last Dance. Before we break, one of these stories from Scottie Pippen is pretty funny. And these small little nuggets, I think, of Michael Jordan, really Jordan the better, sports better at that, or really anything, as you'll hear better. At Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show. Told you that comment from Mike Savage, 6'10 Rams coach, more likely than Matt Patricia to be fired. So we'll listen to some Jordan clips coming up in 10 minutes. And also, I'll give you these odds about the first head coach to be fired and why Sean McVay is nowhere to be found at all on that list. And as mentioned, we opened up with the odds here, at least what I thought would be a more watched event per capita, not overall, but for the amount of people expected. First off, I don't even know who aired this thing. And John, you found results of the first round. I told you it was 2 pounds of bologna. Was the first round of the competitive eating challenge that was virtual, much like horse, except it was the same shot all around, and that's how fast can you eat 2 pounds of bologna?
Yeah, so it's sponsored by Bet Online. You had 2 pounds of bologna. First competitor finished is the winner. Beverages are allowed, and then there was a time penalty for spillages. So it looks like
spillages. Who's spilling bologna?
I don't know.
Isn't bologna? Isn't the advantage of the consistency of bologna that it doesn't spill?
Yeah, you would think. But if you get some on the ground, you're not gonna eat it. So I'm guessing they take time off for what you didn't eat.
Okay.
Looks like so Joey Chestnut. I figured when I pulled it up that he'd be the winner.
Right.
He actually came in second.
Wow.
The first place was a guy named Gideon OG.
Okay.
He finished. Okay, go ahead.
Hold on, real quick, because I have odds ahead of time. Gideon OG. Now, as far as the first round fastest time, Gideon OG was plus 750 coming into this event.
Oh yeah, you would have cashed out for real.
That's a big payout right there, brother.
Yeah, it is. He finished the 2 pounds of bologna in 52 seconds.
50. Now, what, like, is that the same as a smorgasbord? Like, what's going on here?
When I seen some of the videos, it looked like Joey Chestnut was opening packs of bologna from the store. They were just weighing it out.
All right, so this is not like a smorgasbord. This is like you're actually getting it from the, and this could be any type of bologna. This could be the gas station type bologna.
It could be. Yeah, it was in the same packages.
Now, wouldn't that be part of the whole plan here? See, if I'm running this, I'm going to make sure the bologna is good. I'm not going to make sure that anybody out there, in fact, especially going through pandemic health crisis now, but you would get the lowest quality bologna. You know what I'm saying? Like,
cheapest.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's because you're a pound and a half into weak sauce bologna. That's going to be tough to get through. No wonder why you have spillage. All right, so our pal Joey Chestnut comes in second.
He had 55 seconds, so it only took him 3 seconds longer.
All right, the slowest time over under was 95 seconds in the first round. The over is minus 220. Did that hit?
So the longest was 2 minutes and 16 seconds by Badlands Booker, the guy that you mentioned.
And he was the odds-on favorite for the slowest time. So he's out. Badlands is out.
I believe so. Yeah, he had the slowest time.
Okay. Now, isn't this way more entertaining than any horse event?
Yes, surprisingly it is.
Seriously. Now, what about Mickey? Where did she land here?
You talking about Michelle?
No.
Oh.
Michelle Lesko was plus 1,200.
Sudo.
Yeah, she was plus 1,000.
Third place with a time of 1 minute and 1 second.
Yeah, she's a beast. She's an absolute monster when it comes to this. Her and Chestnut. And I'm just surprised that her odds were that far. But again, so now we move to the quarterfinals where it's 48 Oreos and half gallon of milk. Now, just think of this. 48 Oreos. That's not, I think the milk is the problem, right? Because it just solidifies like rock in your body, especially after 48 Oreos. But think about, go back to your college days, right? Where you would, whatever, drink, smoke your drug, whatever it is, right? You're doing something and it's going to make you hungry. Doesn't matter if you're out boozing, smoking, whatever, you're going to find yourself at the diner at 2 a.m. You don't think that at some point in that week, you haven't sat down and inhaled a sleeve of Oreos?
How many is in a pack?
Well, let's think about it. How many Oreos in a sleeve, right? In a pack, I guess you can look at a standard size Oreo cookie package. 3 rows of 15 for 45 in the total package. All right, well, hold on. Now they reduced the package size to 39 cookies. So you look at, one of those where you open it up from the top. Those stay fresh, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's not even a full 48. That's 39. You're still owing 9 cookies after that. That actually is a lot of cookies. When you look at it from that angle, 15 cookies for 45 in the package. They've since reduced it by 6. That's a lot of cookies, man. No, I don't want to see that. I don't, conjures up the image. I have enough problem looking at, enough. Horse.
Yeah, I'm not tempted by the bologna, but by the Oreos, yes.
Well, I think the Oreos is interesting because we all can see ourselves doing it, right? It's like a horse shot, the one that's behind the basket. We've all done that in our time, trying to knock somebody out in a horse. In this case, it's like, who the hell's going to sit down and eat 2 pounds of bologna? But yeah, at some point, I guarantee you there are people out there at Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show, 800-224-2004, that have at some point had their own, even if it's back in college, their own competitive eating challenge with Oreos, specifically with Oreos. All right, real quick, want you to hear this Scottie Pippen cut before we talk more about The Last Dance next.
We have a security sit at the head of our bench. His name is John Caps. He's now passed away. But Caps would bet Michael every game. The only way Caps would win if he was able to pick the right one.
Right.
Because if Michael picked, obviously he knew who was going to win. But yeah, he probably beat the guy at about $4,100.
That's it. Jordan was betting at a level in which he was taking $4,100 from an in-arena employee based off of who would win in the Jumbotron races. And Jordan was winning big time. It's hilarious.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage.
Yeah, man,
During
2
the
pounds of
challenging times
bologna.
We're all experiencing
That just makes me sick.
health and safety of the communities
I mean,
we
that's
serve.
terrible.
While it's true that things are changing rapidly every day,
Better than like 2 pounds of Spam or something nasty. I'm not a big bologna fan anyway.
of every client, every time, no exception.
Y'all eat a lot of bologna in Philly?
Times like
Spam
right
is what
now.
they eat a lot. Not spam, scrapple, sorry.
And we're prepared
Yeah, it's, oh,
with us. And
I'm going to
neither
vomit
should
if I
your
describe what scrapple is.
RocketMortgage.com. As we all think about ways to save money, let me remind you that mortgage rates are near historic lows.
What's the time limit
Right
here
now is the
as
right
far as
time to
like
refinance
for round
your
2?
mortgage. Our home loan experts are available.
See if I can find
Or wait, what was the fastest time?
55 seconds was the fastest time.
Okay, 90 seconds.
Work number 3030.
O'Reilly.
When you need auto parts, O'ReillyAuto.com is just a few clicks away. We offer convenient options for you to get your parts quickly. Order online and pick up for free at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store. We'll even bring it out curbside. Or you can have your parts delivered right to your door. With free shipping on most orders over $35. Visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly. Auto Parts.
Texting calls you current automated text messages. Message data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Frank Thomas, the Big Hurt. After I left baseball, I just couldn't stay in shape like I used to. Turns out, once you hit 40, your body has less free testosterone, and that can make it harder to get into shape. So I got back into the game with Nugenics. I'm feeling stronger with a lot more energy and drive. You want to get back into shape? Get Nugenics. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Frank's right. Just text MAIN to 321321 to get a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And guys, she'll like the difference too.
Nugenic samples are not available in stores. To get your complimentary bottle, text MAIN to 321321.
I don't know, Mike.
MAIN.
48 Oreos? That's insane, man.
First real home.
You're not going to eat 2 pounds of bologna.
Neither one. I mean, I have some Oreos, but not 48.
Yeah, but I feel like eating the bologna is water injected meat. You know what I mean? Like
That's worse than Oreos.
it's going to carry with you and sink in your stomach, right?
I would think so. Well, I would think the milk cookies would do that too, but
National
The
Association.
milk. Once you get to the milk, yes.
I think after a couple bites of the bologna, I'd be done. I can't do it.
Right.
This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here, Ender.
Last Dance Saturday now. The days, of course, are just completely blending together. The weeks actually are blending together. At Shander Show, $1,000 on the table. Can you eat 48 Oreos in 90 seconds? And I've included the standard size Oreo cookie package. Has always had 3 rows of 15 cookies for 45 total in the package. This year, however, they reduced the package size to 39 cookies. Now, just wait and see how many people pile in and say, oh, yeah, without a doubt, no problem, without a doubt, I got this. And I think you need to check exactly not only the size, maybe it's been a little bit since you've had an Oreo. Oreo's not a tiny cookie by any means. It's manageable, but it's not a tiny cookie by any means. And 48 of those, even in the big pack, before they removed the supersize on this, the 45, a package of Oreos, you're still 3 short. At some point, it's going to turn into like a sand and cement mixture. in your mouth and body. It's not just going to be an easy down like, oh, yeah, hey, Oreos. Twist them off and pop them. Yeah, you could probably pop about 15, 20, maybe I'll give you about 25. But I can't wait to see people jump out. Absolutely, without a doubt. Bologna is going to be more difficult because the water, this is not a real meat by any means, water injected, all of that. So it's just going to stick. Now, granted, the cement mixture of Oreo is going to be the same at some point, but the bologna is going to get you faster. That's the reality of it. We gave you that cut, Scottie Pippen, before the break, talking about the betting. Michael Jordan at some point was betting on everything, even the in-game arena guy on an employee of the arena for the Bulls before games, during games, maybe even depending on when the Jumbotron race was, and saying, hey, I got C or I got A. $4,100. Now, that's a story in its own right. The guy himself, I mean, that would be a story I'd be telling for the rest of my life. Man, MJ beat me for 40. Yeah, it's okay. You lost $4,100. That's a tough pill to swallow, and that's probably tough to tell your family and anybody else who cares about your finances. But the story itself is basically, well, I was betting, of all people, Michael Jordan on the Jumbotron. Scotty alludes to the fact that if Jordan, and this is just a micro of some of the stuff we'll get from this Last Dance, if Jordan had any inkling or any tip ahead of time of who would win, then he would initiate the bet as opposed to the other guy saying, look, I got C, and then Jordan would know maybe ahead of time, C. No. Don't worry about that. I'm not taking that bet because he knows it's going to lose. So Jordan was the one initiating at least the winners of all of this. Hilarious, at the same time, insightful into just how deep he would go to bet. And we knew that from golf, and we knew that from the conspiracies that surround the 2 years that he was absent from the NBA. But smaller stories like this kind of fill the glue. Now, that's one. The other couple of things that will pop, and we can listen to some cuts here. There is this story about Michael Jordan ignoring doctors for basically coming back that second time in this season. And here's a clip of what will be surely expanded upon more come Sunday night.
Michael asked him, well, if I play, what percentage is there that I'm going to get hurt again? Doctor said, yeah, 10%.
And I just lost it. I said, look, it's 10% chance, but it's 90% chance that I won't.
And then I chimed in to the doctors, what happens if the 10% kicks in? And they said, well, then his career would be over.
Wow, everybody's just thinking about the negative. Well, I think the glass is half full. Everybody thinks it's half empty.
So I said to Michael, you're not understanding the risk-reward ratio. If you had a terrible headache and I gave you a bottle of pills and 9 of the pills would cure you and 1 of the pills would kill you, would you take a pill?
And I look at him, I said, depends on how bad the headache is.
You know what? I hope one thing that will come out for this, and it's not young people, please don't mistake me for saying this, is because I think the older you are and the more you use social media, the more prone you are. It's a mentality that's been fueled. We've always had it, but it's been fueled by social media and just this newer age that we're living in, where nothing that we're experiencing is good enough. Everything is, no, and find a reason to poke. And a lot of it from an athlete standpoint is the combination, if you will, of self-awareness from athletes, like in the NBA, for example, players leading really with LeBron and then a bunch of other big names underneath him, realizing the control that they have, not only with their own reality, but the league and the impact that they have, and then what should be coming back to them from an economic, financial standpoint, something that we always are baffled that NFL players can't have more of a control on. At least with NBA players, we've seen that rise, that transformation, and it's met with, well, selfish, out for your own, not a team player, not caring enough. You don't care about losing. All you do is care about the paycheck. That seems to have, for whatever reason, been on a rise, coincidentally or coincidentally at least, with coinciding with that rise of the self-aware athlete, professional athlete, more so than anything. But look, it's happening slowly, but still happening in college, and it's met with resistance, that same type of resistance. That cut illustrates for anybody who has ever criticized their own players, anybody who's ever thought, well, I really think this player would be so much better if he gave a damn, anything along those lines of questioning heart, if a player actually cares as much as you do about losing the 15th or 20th or 30th game in the regular season. That's what Michael Jordan was. And it's no throwback. He's not playing right now. It's not trying to identify, well, LeBron. No, it's just there will be a younger appreciation for Michael Jordan based on this interview, based on this Last Dance piece, based on people going back and looking up YouTube highlights. I'm sure it's through the roof and will continue to be through the roof. All the people checking in and going back and living in nostalgia of the Jordan years. Now, I was thinking, too, before we hear this cut from Good Morning America and kind of about Michael Jordan himself in this Last Dance piece, what would be the sound that's most synonymous? And it could be anything, right? It could be somebody saying something. It can be music. It can be that horn that they used to blow in Chicago, that charge horn from the sound system in the rafters of the United Center. But think about this, and we'll throw it out on Twitter as well, at Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show. But what comes to mind? And it doesn't matter if you're a Bulls fan, an MJ fan, or you hated them because they killed your team. Specifically, Michael Jordan, of course, killed your team. But what sound, what audible moment, or what consistent sound do you think of first? Yeah, and I agree with Ball316 on Twitch. And I'll just take the easy one out, especially as he did as well on Twitch. It's the Sirius Alan Parsons Project. John, can you, I don't know if we have that in the system, but if you could grab that, and always on the spot. I know, terrible, I apologize. But that's the intro. You know what I'm talking about, right? That, that intro song where it's like, and now.
I was actually looking for it already. I'm trying to
see, that's what I think is most synonymous.
As soon as you brought it up, that was the first thing that popped in my head. Now, I didn't get to see Jordan play. I mean, I'm a little young for that, but that's the only thing synonymous for Jordan with me.
See, all right. Now, that's worth exploring in its own way. You never watched him play live because you were born probably right when he was either retired or playing for the Wizards.
I was born in 92.
Well, you saw him play live. You just don't remember it.
Right.
Yes. So don't sell yourself short. You've been on the planet for a little bit here, brother. 92. So you're alive on the planet, but I get it. You can't consume it, right? Not until a little bit later. And then by that point, he's gone. So from that to, I wonder how deep this stretches. So somebody like me, I'm 41, right? I'll be 42 at the end of this year. So think about that. That's what I think of. That's what you think of. You were born a little bit later than me. What is somebody who was born in 2001, who's going to be 19, 20 this year? Is that the first thing they think of? And I wonder if there are people that are my age or maybe older where there's something else. Marv Albert has a couple of pretty big moments. And you might be a Bulls fan. You might remember that horn if you've gone to these games or if you covered these games or if you watched them, limited, of course, but on TV in that area, then that would probably be it. But it's going to be hard to think of a sound or something audible that is more synonymous with the Michael Jordan years than, and now, right? Especially because, like, the whole introduction, that's what I think would be, let's do that, all right? I don't know if you can find it, but we'll give you some time, John, of course. The sound is one thing. It's going to get chills up people's spines and all. But I wonder if we could get the whole introduction. B.J. Armstrong, Horace Grant, and then, of course, 6'6" guard from North Carolina. That's going to get, I don't care if Michael Jordan dominated your squad. Knicks, Sixers, Celtics, Pistons, whatever, Heat, I don't care. That's the first thing you think of, and it's still going to put chills up and down your back. Doesn't matter. That's the most synonymous thing. Isn't that crazy how that works? There really wouldn't be anything else. I'm trying to think. What was the Marv Albert call? A spectacular move, right? That was when he went up with his. Do you remember that? Well, I don't know if you remember that, John. That was early Jordan, but goes up against the Lakers, where he has it with the right hand, and then for no reason whatsoever, he didn't need to do it, but he thought somebody was coming to block his shot, so he switched it from his right hand to his left and put it in. And Marv Albert, I bet you even if you Google a spectacular move by Jordan, that comes up. Only because it was like one of the a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. And that's what comes up. The move. 1991 NBA Finals. No reason to do it. I guess he thought somebody was coming up, but still, who cares? Like Dr. J, is he really faking anybody going behind the backboard? No, he's making it easier, though. And it's a beautiful sight watching him go up and under. All right, take a quick break. We'll wrap the hour coming up. At Shander Show is how you follow me on Twitter. Twitch.tv/Shander Show is how you can watch. It's a free, easy subscription. We're live. We'll take your calls as well. 800-224-2004. This is the most anticipated sports documentary in a long, long time. Before we break, here's that final cut from Good Morning America with Michael Jordan.
Well, it was a trying year. We all were trying to enjoy.
You want me to go straight to break?
Yep, perfect.
I was hoping that,
Do you have any of these that we can play in the final segment?
Man, that's what I was trying to find. Like, I tried to download it off YouTube right now. It's taking forever.
No worries. Do you want me to? All right, so is it just a matter of downloading, or do you need another clip? Because I can help look too.
See if I can get it from YouTube.
Okay.
From Twitter.
The coach then, obviously I wasn't going to play. So Phil started off the year by saying this is the last dance, and we played it that way. So mentally it just kind of tugged at you throughout the course of the year.
Yeah, there's one that's a $154. But that's on YouTube, right?
Also,
It's the full intro. That's what I was looking for.
Yes.
As sad as it sounded at the beginning of the year, we tried.
I can play it directly off YouTube, but it'd be really, really, really low.
That's all right. So YouTube's the only one, huh?
This is the problem for a sport like baseball. It is an outdoor sport that must be played in nice weather. And the window for nice weather in certain parts of the country, Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, Boston, is quite small. I actually am somebody who believes that baseball should be going and playing in Arizona and in Florida once this thing calms down. And I think having teams be centrally located, I think finding a facility, a hotel that probably is empty, and putting your team there, it stinks. You're going to be away from your family. You're going to be away from your normal life. But that to me is a must. I just don't see how in the world you put like the New York Yankees in New York. Like how?
Pushing the Odds with Matt Ferrall. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Tonight with John Michaels.
We don't know that 16 days from now, things might not be trending in a good direction. I'm going to continue to take the glass half full approach. I'm continuing to plan as if college football and pro football is going to happen in the fall, and that we're going to have the NBA by June at some point. I'm thinking by June, we're going to have NBA back and baseball will be up and running. We may be playing in front of empty gyms for a while. So be it.
SB Nation Tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up calls. Who as a country do we trust enough to when they go, you can go back to work, you can go to sports arenas, that we go, absolutely, thanks.
Is it Dr. Fossey?
Is it him? Because he's like, we may never be able to shake hands ever again.
Why is your Dr. Fossey voice one step away from Gilbert Gottfried?
I know, right? On the one hand, I want to know what the other hand is doing. And my Dr. Fauci impression is more like, well, it's more like If you have two people in a room, it's better if one of them leaves.
I can go record it during the 6-minute break and do that, but I don't have anything.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
used to have it saved. I used to have the song saved in my music on my page. I used to use it to come in sometimes.
Presentation to maybe once every 2 weeks. That would be the best. To keep this completely.
Tony D and Ron Culver, weekday mornings.
Wake up call.
Why don't we do that?
The president getting asked about Joe Exotic.
Now,
You want to just do it in the break?
Yeah, because I can go record the whole thing and put it on the computer instead of doing the YouTube.
All right, let's do that.
He's going through the whole thing. He's like, "Is that Joe Exotic?" I'm like, "Hey, shut up.
Come on.
Come on, Mr. President. You know who Joe Exotic is."
Because everybody does.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver, weekday mornings. This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here, Ender.
All right, coming up, second hour, we'll go out to LA, get some insight what the Chargers are going to do. Top the first round and more of the NFL draft. Interesting story out there. So we'll try and see exactly what that team is thinking and how it might impact the draft ladder. Also, now do me a favor, John, let this ride for just a second because something popped in my brain earlier in the week and I put this out here about Naughty by Nature. Also, we'll get you the full intro of the Chicago Bulls team, the introduction before every game, and try and find another piece of audio or sound or voice that's more synonymous with the Chicago Bulls. Put that out on Twitter at Shander Show. Twitch.tv/Shander Show. The Philly Mick on Twitch. Whose legacy do you think suffered the most because of Jordan and the Bulls? That's another thing we can talk about coming up in the second hour, 7:12 Eastern time. So I don't know how many of you know this, but Tretch, the lead rapper, as you hear him right here for Naughty by Nature, wrote that song Jump. Did you know that, John? By Criss Cross? Yes. So Jermaine Dupri said, hey, Tretch, we need your help. And Tretch is a fantastic writer like he is rapper, ghost written a lot of stuff. And that was one of them. So I want you to just take Naughty by Nature's success that they've had. Like once an album, they've come out with a very super heavy pop song, despite them being heavy rappers. Can you imagine the success that Jump would have? Like OPP, Hip Hop Hooray. You know what I'm saying? Like these type of songs that were huge, no matter the type of genre of hip hop they were. I feel like Jump would be as pop and as popular as any of the songs they put out, maybe outside of OPP. Just something to chew on here. Second hour, right around the corner here at Shader Show on Twitter. All right, man, I'll be right back.
If business, pleasure, or sports fandom takes you to Houston, Dallas, Austin, Fort Worth, or San Antonio, check out CultureMap.com to get the scoop on the local favorites. From the best restaurants, bars, pubs, and clubs to the biggest sights and sounds each city has to offer, CultureMap has it all. Just head over to CultureMap.com. The expert team personally reviews and visits each spot to make sure you get the best experience. And if you're coming back, sign up for free CultureMap updates at CultureMap.com.
SB Nation Tonight with John Michaels.
Let's not fool ourselves. 17 games is coming, period. The NFL realizes right now, if we go to 17 games, you know what that is? More money. You're going to get basically 2 more weeks of programming out of all of this. The extra game and the extra bye week, the NFL can milk that for more money out of the television network. For the television networks, it's simple. For all the BS talk of fans who were out there that said, look, we're going to boycott the game for whatever. Whether it was players off the field activities, whether it was kneeling for the flag, whether it was the game changing and the way they're taking away some of the hard hits. People said they weren't going to participate, not going to watch. Like 9 of the top 10 programs throughout the year are NFL games. So say whatever you want. People are consuming the National Football League. And if the NFL looks at this and says, I can make more money by having more games, they're going to have more games.
SB Nation Tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Bum Phillips, Earl Campbell, Dan Pastorini, the Love You Blue era Houston Oilers. Experience 1970s football with red, white, and Columbia blue. The new audiobook at Houston79.com. A game-by-game recap of the 1979 Houston Oilers season, featuring player interviews and new insights. Step into the huddle for legendary games against the Steelers and Cowboys, and relive one of the most controversial plays ever, the Mike Renfro play. Red, white, and Columbia blue. Download now at Houston79.com. Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault.
Joe Theismann here on Pushing the Odds. How has quarantine life been for you?
Probably the most important word that we can all consider is patience with everybody. I know everybody's sort of going stir crazy. I mean, let's face it, this is something we're not used to as a society. We move quite rapidly, but now we're forced to sort of reevaluate the important things in life. I think it's good in that regard. Matt, I've said this for a long time. If you have your health, you have wealth. Wealth has nothing to do with what your bank account looks like. If you have your health, then you are a very wealthy person. Now it's important that we understand that you want to be able to keep social distancing so that everybody can stay healthy. And the more we can practice that, every day that we can practice that, every day we can buy a day for the scientists to be able to come up with a cure or a vaccine, it's a day closer to having this craziness end. And life will never be the same.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up call! I mentioned the draft is going to be a virtual event. We kind of know that. You know, everybody's going to be in home locations and everybody on computers and whatnot. But how many of us will be watching this just to see if it falls apart? This is the aspect of the draft. We're going to see who's getting picked and what teams did what, who moved up in the draft to get who, and all of that we normally do. But how many of us are watching for the Joe Burrow feed to just collapse at the right time?
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Wake up call! I mentioned the draft is going to be a virtual event. We kind of know that. You know, everybody's going to be in home locations and everybody on computers and whatnot. But how many of us will be watching this just to see if it falls apart? This is the aspect of the draft. We're going to see who's getting picked and what teams did what, who moved up in the draft to get who, and all of that we normally do. But how many of us are watching for the Joe Burrow feed to just collapse at the right time?
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Wake up call! You know what? I think Tiger King is probably going to be the thing.
That'll be.
How did you get through the great quarantine? Let me tell you the story. And the guy and his tigers, and another guy and his sex cult, and a woman that fed her husband to the lions. I mean, it's just going to be.
Do you think Oklahoma, in some way, some fashion, or maybe the country as a whole, we should have a Joe Exotic statue? A place,
great idea.
A beacon of hope, a beacon of lights that we can all travel to once the quarantine is over. So
we can families.
Mass gatherings. So generations from now, we can sit there and say, guys, this man right here is what got us through 2020.
I think it's a great idea. That's a good idea. Joe Exotic statue. The great hero of the 2020 quarantine.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings.
Headed to Texas to watch your team play, but don't know where to go for that pregame drink? Visit CultureMap.com for all of the hottest spots in Houston, Austin, Dallas, and Antonio.
I'm here.
From the most popular
All right, I got the full starting lineup for the 97 Game 6 finals.
No, perfect.
Oh, and it's got everybody.
Oh, that's awesome.
coverage on
It's a minute 50 or so.
That's CultureMap.com.
Maybe we can play it in the background or something.
Your business ideas need a room.
Hey, besides the guest for this hour, what else did you want for the tweet?
Let's do
Real difference. That's the role of a realtor.
most synonymous sound of Jordan. Oh no, I don't know. There's got to be a better way to phrase that. Let's do.
Is your agent a realtor?
Oh no, let's do that question that Silly Mick asked. So let's do whose legacy suffered the most because of Jordan and the Bulls. Sounds of Jordan, and then our guest. It's fine.
SB Nation Radio.
And SB Nation
Oh no, you can do word of the year.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Rocket Mortgage is with you every step of the way. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios.
Like that.
Ender.
All right, we got everything here. Audio-wise, we're going to let you hear this when we have some time to breathe coming up. Also, as mentioned, we're going to go out to L.A. Joe Reedy is going to join us this hour, 7:40 Eastern Time. Covers the Chargers, really everything sports-related for the Associated Press. Some questions about the Chargers specifically, also what the hell's going on and updates in L.A. and maybe some insight as far as sports returning, of course, without fans. And that's the biggest question that hopefully has been answered for you. There is no way whatsoever that professional sports, collegiate sports, high school sports, doesn't matter, are going to return with fans and stands. There's just no way this calendar year. And you're expecting a ton if you think that you're going to be sitting in your favorite football stadium this year in September, October. Doesn't mean you won't be able to watch. I definitely feel like we're on track for live sports returning even sooner than people thought, but without giving any date because that would be foolish. There is something that I think when you look at it big picture, and this isn't a bad thing. It's unfortunate, and as I've maintained locally here in Philadelphia for weeks, and will echo that sentiment here on this program today, it's going to hurt in certain areas more than it will others. Let's just be honest. Not everywhere. There are certain patches in the Southeast that approach college football crazier, heavier, in a deeper frenzy than anybody else in the country. SEC football just drives that. Doesn't mean that people don't care in Ohio State or Penn State or out in the Pac-12. It's just a different animal. Philadelphia, just a different animal. Cleveland, as much as there is a constant expectation that gets dashed and kicked around, that's it. You have a rabid sense of fandom. And that's going to be different this year, where you're going to be told to stay home and have to oblige by that order. But hopefully that's one thing you've been able to come to grips with. It doesn't mean this is going to impact when sports are back or if sports are back. It's completely separate thought practice, but it is, I think, the closest thing we have to a lock, which is you and I are going to stay on our couch and continue to watch TV. It's just going to turn into live sports at some point. We ain't moving, though.
In the fight against COVID-19, our friends at Boll & Branch recently made a commitment to help New York State by manufacturing mattresses and pillows and donating them to hospitals and emergency medical operations. This keeps workers employed and helps medical and government agencies prepare and respond in this moment of need. To support this effort and scale it to other states, they've set up a temporary code that lets you help. When you use code GOODNESS at BollandBranch.com, you will get 10% off your purchase and 10% of the proceeds will go directly to fund this effort.
All right. Do you want me to come back with it?
No, I'll throw it real quick because I want to reset the question too.
And that commitment is firm. But with your help, they can make even more. You can contribute $100 to cover the cost of a mattress that will be donated to a hospital in need. Go to BollandBranch.com and use code GOODNESS to help. BollandBranch.com, promo code GOODNESS. Restrictions may apply. See BollandBranch.com for details.
The American spirit is alive and well. And underscore the word spirit, because at a time when we could all use a little good news, this story will do the trick. The company is called Surf City Stillworks out of Huntington Beach, California. And as their name implies, Surf City creates unique, amazing craft bourbon, vodka, gin, and
What's wrong?
And to say their business was booming.
Hey, question. Do you need to do that again? If we had another clip, do you need to go and record it again in the studio?
Usually if it's YouTube, we can throw in the converter and it works perfectly. But for some reason, the converter hasn't been working. So if it's specifically YouTube, I have to just run down and do it. If it's Twitter or anything else, I can grab it usually.
Want to support a great American company? Visit surfcitystillworks.com.
I just DM'd you on the SB Nation a clip.
Also
it's the spectacular move clip.
Radio.
That's probably the other one that comes to mind, right?
Give me a second to get that one.
Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During the challenging times we're all experiencing,
All good, brother. Thank
our
you.
top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that'll never change is our commitment to giving you the best mortgage experience. At Rocket Mortgage, our guiding philosophy of
What's
every
up,
client,
Romo?
every time, no exceptions, no excuses.
Not Tony
exists
Romo.
For times like right
Better
now.
not.
We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. If you currently work with us and need assistance with your mortgage, contact us.
It is tough, though. It's weird, man, watching that without it.
As we all think about ways to save money, let me remind you that
Oh, it's a link to a YouTube video.
Yeah, so is that going to be a problem again?
Play super low. You won't be able to hear it.
So it has to be a video that's not YouTube?
For right now.
.com.
Call for cost information and
Let me try another converter. I'm gonna bring you in. Let me try another.
Work number 3030.
Okay, I could look too.
This is SB Nation Radio.
Sent you a Facebook link. I don't know if that worked.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here.
At Shander Shows, how you can follow along on Twitter. We're live on Twitch as well, twitch.tv/Shander Show. I mentioned an interesting question before the hour broke, thrown out here on Twitch by the Philly Mick, and whose legacy, we had it up on the screen, whose legacy was impacted the most? Negatively, of course. Whose legacy suffered the most as a result of Michael Jordan and the Bulls? Interesting question, right? I don't know how many of you have actually pondered that. Pistons first, I think, come to mind, but that was a run that ended more so than anything. Magic at his point, from a career standpoint, especially when you look at the health issue that happened there, more so than anything, Jordan was on the rise when a couple of those giants in the 80s were starting at the very least, if not in full decline. And look at Larry Bird's health by the time Michael Jordan was winning his third championship. So while you look at some of the obvious champions that Jordan knocked off, wouldn't it be people that came up short as a result of Mike? You'd put on top of everybody. You would immediately elevate beyond somebody who won, even if it was the 90 series against the Lakers or anybody else who had already won in the Eastern Conference by knocking off the Pistons. Start looking at guys who did not, at least there. I mean, even Clyde Drexler, right? That would be one that I think you could make an argument for, but even he falls down a peg because he wins that championship with the Rockets. Now, you can argue that he wasn't winning anything with Jordan in the league, and it took teaming up with Hakeem and Jordan being out. But let's be fair. Just like you'll never see a documentary, or if anything, there should be a documentary about those 2 years. And that would be really cool if somebody did that, right? If somebody approached those 2 years and tried to figure out whatever the hell was going on with Jordan and David Stern on one hand, and juxtapose that with really how damn good. Like, think about the statement that was made by both Jordan's absence and Hakeem taking over the league. It wasn't even in question. They won 2 straight. It wasn't even in question. As soon as Jordan left, it wasn't like, oh man, just give it up to the Jazz or just give it up to the Sonics or the Blazers. Just you wait and see. No, it was a definitive, wow, that's the second best player in the NBA, and it's not even close. And yet think of what was happening where Jordan was preventing everybody, including the second best player in Olajuwon, from winning anything. Jordan is the ultimate stopper in that regard. Nobody won because of Michael Jordan. And I don't know if we'll see that type of not only domination. It's one thing to see the Warriors win, but LeBron has snuck in there and been able to carve out his own legacy, a masterpiece as it is. Team sports that aren't as individualized as the NBA are a little more difficult to compare, like a quarterback, a safety lineman. Good luck. You're way off the curve at that point. But just staying in the realm of the NBA, it's amazing to see not only what Jordan did for himself, Scottie Pippen, Phil Jackson, down to PJ Armstrong and guys coming off the bench. But what he did in preventing Hall of Famers from winning, looking back now that we have the benefit of that in hindsight, preventing Hall of Famers from winning. Reggie Miller is one on there on Twitch. Ewing. Definitely, I think those guys have to be at the top. I wonder if you throw Charles in there as well. Guys who, no matter what, I mean, think about that Phoenix team that Barkley played on. That in its own right deserves some consideration. I'll tell you what, we're going to listen to the introduction and go back to this. You can hit us up again on social at Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show, the phone line 800-224-2004. But I'll tell you why I don't go Stockton and Malone number one. And I will admit that those two will always be a duo joined at the hip. But I don't think that they're at the top. Now, we mentioned, at least asked you to find something bigger, something more synonymous, if you will, a sound that comes to mind more so than what you're about to hear when it comes to the Michael Jordan Bulls team. Really just Michael Jordan. So if I say Michael Jordan, what's the first sound you think of in your head? What's the first thing that's going through? If it's Marv Albert, if it's Phil Jackson, if it's a Jordan quote, if it's Space Jam, if it's something like that, I can't imagine that it would be ahead of or in front of or the first thing actually that pops in your mind outside of this. And thank John for finding the specific introduction, because you know when you're talking about an NBA Finals game, you're going to be jacked up even more.
Hey, I got the Jordan highlight too.
Perfect. Wow, look how loud that is.
From Miami, Ohio, Ron Harper. From North Carolina, Michael Jordan.
That's insanity, man. Absolute insanity. Is there another one? All right, so think of this. We'll play you this highlight from Marv Albert. It was given to us on Twitter. I didn't think we would get really anything outside of the Alan Parsons Project, what you just heard. Great job, John, for tracking that down and allowing us all to relive that moment. But Rick Lorenzen Rick Lorenzen 23 tweeted a spectacular move with the exclamation point, because you have to add the exclamation point when you're quoting Marv Albert. So this might be number two, I think. It definitely isn't number one for me. Number one is what you just heard. That introductory song combined with, and now, that's just going to always be the most famous thing ever in my head regarding Michael Jordan, the Bulls, and anything that follows from Jordan's name. This would probably be number two.
He's now walked for 9. The look away to Livingston. Jordan. Oh, a spectacular move by Michael Jordan. That's 13 consecutive field goals. Looks like Michael Jordan's trying to find a way to miss his shot instead of taking the easy one. He tries to make it hard and still comes up. He's saying to the fans, I love it.
Oh, this is insanity. This opens up another conversation. Marv and Fratello, top duo of all time, very least in basketball. But that goes up there with Madden and Summerall. Marv and Fratello was a thing of beauty. Now, they added some people throughout the existence of that, but Marv and the Czar of the Telestrator, that was something else, man. That was unlike anything. Now, even you, John, and I know we span a little bit of line here when it comes to age, but it's not terribly far, terribly distant. But even you remember I'm sure, right? Because did that still stretch into when you started watching and comprehending basketball, Marv and Fratello, or did that kind of die out with the Bulls?
I do remember Marv, obviously, but I don't remember Fratello. I think you said his
Yeah,
name.
Mike Fratello, man.
I don't remember.
See, this is something that needs to come out from this documentary. Michael Jordan, you can find everything. Go read Hang Time by Bob Greene. That's the most insightful book I've ever read, or any type of documentary, anything at all about Jordan. You want to go watch Come Fly With Me, Hang Time, the videos that show all the highlights and a little bit of insight into his life. It's controlled and all. That's fine. That's a fantastic way to consume things he did on the court that probably can't be done or haven't been done since. That's totally cool there. But the documentary, I think, at the very least, should remember and kind of revive how strong things around him were. Like how synonymous of a song that Sirius Alan Parsons project is with sports, first and foremost, and then Jordan, of course. And then that little duo that stands the test of time. Marv is fantastic, and Marv is just, you have to be good. It doesn't mean that he's the best ever, but when you have a guy like Fratello, and Fratello was fantastic because this is right around the, I don't want to say advent by any means of the Telestrator, but around the time in which the analysts began to master it. Now, it's one thing when you have the new technology, but Fratello was a master, hence the czar of the Telestrator. That was the nickname Marv Albert gave Mike Fratello. And Fratello would be all over it, drawing things up. He was the the predecessor, kind of, if you will, to Hubie Brown. And Hubie, I know Hubie pisses some people off. I love Hubie because I feel like he does a good job of coaching us from an audience standpoint. But looking back and just remembering, just that cut itself is so great of an illustration of how dominant those two were from a play-by-play and color analyst standpoint. And I don't know if you'll find that, at least in basketball. It doesn't mean that Mark Jackson and Steve Kerr and I forget who the play-by-play guy would, Mike Breen would be a great example now of, I guess, Van Gundy and Breen. But these two stood out. And much like a great sitcom that stands the test of time, I think that duo stands the test of time. Absolutely, by all means. So I don't know if you would look at this and think if there was a better song more synonymous with sport than what you just heard. I'm going to get to that coming up. Also, as I promised, the Stockton Malone thing. So Jordan, Bulls, winning 6 finals, only taking off those 2 years, Jordan, of course, and Olajuwon, that's where Drexler gets one. Whose legacy suffered the most was a question we had on Twitch as a result at the hands of Jordan. And the only names we didn't mention was Stockton and Malone. Here's the thing. They were in the finals 2 straight years. You had that push off on Russell at the end in which Jordan hits the shot, they win it. I feel like of all the competitors, of all the people that went up against Jordan, it's not so much sympathy, but it's acceptance. And I don't think it hurts their legacy. As crazy as that sounds, everybody else, you put it, even Charles Barkley, it comes up every now and again because he's so prevalent and focused upon in the news by outlets and sources, and anybody can get a hand or mic in front of Charles. But with Stockton and Malone, other guys, I think it still hurts their legacy. I honestly do not think not winning rings. I honestly think that when you look at these guys unable to win a championship, even 2 straight against Jordan, it's not held against them. Malone's still looked at as the top prototypical power forward of all time, and Stockton retires as people have to remind a lot of NBA fans, but people who've been paying attention to the game for a while know he retired as the all-time leader in assists and steals and is looked at as one of the best point guards. And I mean like top 5 point guards of all time, even with time changing the definition of the point guard. At Shander Show, poll is up. We invite you to vote. I'll explain that coming up 7:40 Eastern time, 14 minutes from now. We'll go out to LA, get an update on what the Chargers are thinking for the NFL draft. It's SB Nation Radio.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
Dan Black of Road Drivers doing it here. I'm putting the odds. The most angry
Hey, I just seen you emailed me a clip.
ball gun. Do you remember why?
Oh,
you
Bill
shot me
Maher
with the
clip.
paper?
Yeah, if you have it, that's fine.
I'm saving it in the system right now.
Perfect.
But I do remember it because it was radio promotion. We were at the paintball place, and I think we were just getting on each other's nerves like 20-year-old dudes do. And you put your hands up, and I took a free shot at you. And you did not appreciate it one bit. So I don't know if I ever apologized for that, but if I didn't, sorry, man.
I remember my rib cage being like so sore for like 3 days afterward. You hit me like 4 times. It wasn't like one shot. It was like multiple pulls of the trigger too. That you got me.
Oh,
on,
geez,
so.
it's like you completely have not forgotten about it.
Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault. Weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Hey everybody, RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com, your home for the best Dallas Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blogging the Boys podcast feed has daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner, 2-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation, and we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcast. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blogging the Boys podcast feed today.
SB Nation Tonight with John Michaels.
Did you see the latest on Kevin Durant where he said he played with a bunch of athletes, but not a bunch of guys that can shoot or play? Dude, Russell Westbrook and James Harden were on your team. I get it. Kendrick Perkins wasn't a very skilled big man. Thabo Sefolosha was a great defensive guy, and that's it. Don't do this 6, 7, 8 years later where you're calling guys out. You sound like a candy ass when you do that. I thought it was soft as hell when he left, but to not be hypocritical, it is free agency. You are free to go play wherever the hell you want when you're a free agent. But why years later?
I just emailed you something for Sunday.
Guys that you used to play free, you're healthy again. You're now going to play again. I'm going to tell you, if I'm Russell Westbrook and I'm James Harden and I go against Kevin Durant, I'm putting the Slim Reaper on his rear end. Telling him, shut the hell up. You were part of the reason we couldn't get the job done.
SB Nation Tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Wake up call! Please, God, if it does come to that, can we have the Walking Dead zombies, not the World War Z?
Yeah, I don't need the fast-moving.
Superhuman.
Ooh,
I'm not outrunning a World War Z zombie.
I'm the guy you bring because secretly you know I can't keep up with the rest of the group. Hey, I'm going to take Bob and Jim and Tony. You come with us too. And everybody knows why you're bringing me. So when push comes to shove, I'm the meal.
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. This is SB Nation Radio,
And SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan.
10 minutes from now, we'll go out to LA. A couple of questions regarding the Chargers, what they do in the NFL draft. If, in fact, they're looking to move out, it's crazy. It's not your typical draft by any means. But just kind of looking at need and looking at storyline and how a trade with LA could impact the entire top 5 or 6 picks following, of course, the 2, which we all believe are locked in, 1, 2. Burrow and Young. That's fine. We now look at 3 and how fast a team like Miami might be able to move up. Joe Reedy from the Associated Press will join us 10 minutes from now. At Shander Show, twitch.tv/Shander Show is how you can follow along, watch the show, put up the poll. And I don't know what other would be in this case, but I always leave an option for it. Most popular sports-related song. One Shining Moment. Sirius, what we just played, the Bulls intro. Other. Now, I do have a couple here. See, I don't know what capacity it's used. What am I missing? We Are the Champions. Now, that's a song, pardon me, that has some sort of sport theme, right? But what capacity is it used?
It's only for the champions.
Yeah, but is that played?
Most of the time, I feel like it's played either by the fans synonymously. I don't know if necessarily every team as a like in the stadium they play it, but I know the fans like to sing it as soon as their team wins a championship.
Is that right? Is that a universal thing? Maybe I missed that in 2017 when the Eagles, we were too busy rapping Meek Mill, but maybe I missed that.
I was singing it in 2017 when the Astros won.
Were you really?
Oh, yeah.
Was everybody down there too singing? I mean, you guys have a ton of history.
At the parade, yeah. We were all singing it.
That's the best you could do? I mean, you've got hundreds of years of history, even pre-state history down there in Houston.
Yeah, but you're the champions. That's what you sing.
I didn't realize this was that prevalent of a song. Look, I guess I had to ask because a bunch of people have actually voted. So the heavy thing, it's actually not as heavy as you think. As more people are voting, One Shining Moment lost its lead, significant lead, and is now only up 42.5% to 40% over the Bulls intro. So then I leave a third option, which is Other, and that's and look, One Shining Moment is now at 43.5% and Bulls intro at 41%. So both are kind of moving up at the expense of Other. Other has 15%. So I followed up on Twitter asking, well, what would Other be? And that's what I got. That's what I got as far as a couple of the answers. Lou Pellegrino at Lou_Pellegrino. Busy in our world, of course. He says we are the champions. And that's why I asked him on Twitter, well, what are the capacities, I guess, that it's used in? And you're telling me that it's every year. But isn't that, I guess every year you're going to have at least one team. So you're telling me that in the same year where the Nationals win it, that's what they're singing?
No, they were singing Baby Shark.
They are. Yeah, see, exactly right. You're telling me back in like 1995? Look, that Queen song is old. So you're telling me that how often? See, we start to look at this a little deeper. I don't necessarily think that it's as popular or prevalent as you and Lou Pellegrino and others think. Vinny Tellerico 93 tweets in a homer pick, Dreams and Nightmares.
See, I think it's popular, though, because I'll tell you this. So the other night I was playing video games with my friend, and I won. And I sung that song.
Dreams and Nightmares?
No. We Are the Champions. I'm sorry.
No,
I think it's super prevalent.
Yeah, that's the first thing. I don't know. I guess, look, I'm open to not only suggestions, but I'm open to the concept that I could be wrong about something. I know it sounds shocking to hear that, but I truly am in this case. And I guess I never thought that it was a go-to song. And maybe it's because I haven't seen a championship here often in Philadelphia, and we had one song specifically attached. And like you said, Baby Shark in DC, we had Dreams and Nightmares here, courtesy of Meek Mill. But outside of that, I mean, the Flyers had some Mac Miller song that they were rocking out to a couple of years back. Let's say like 6 or 7 years back. Yeah, I don't know.
Paul Wall, who's a local Houston rapper, put out a song called World Series Grills.
Okay.
He was kind of going with, but it wasn't that great of a song.
But it didn't make headlines.
Yeah, I mean, it did around here, yeah.
Around, okay, well, that's fine.
Locally, yeah.
But the thing with Meek is that he had this big storyline around him. So, of course, that song itself was already popular. And it just picked up, of course, and it became synonymous because the Eagles chose it themselves as a song they would ride with. And then, of course, they win the Super Bowl. Look, if they got kicked out in the first round, I don't know how popular Dreams and Nightmares would be in Philadelphia that year.
What about We Will Rock You?
Well, it's the same song, isn't it?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oops.
Well, no, that's fine because it's the two songs together. No, that's fine. It took me a little bit as a hip-hop head for life. It took me a little bit to figure that out as well. But yeah, same song. Now, what's some of these I don't get? What's Blur song number 2? Do you know?
I don't.
All right. Well, that would be synonymous with sports. Again, you've got two obvious answers in front of you. One shining moment and that Sirius Bulls introduction song. And a lot of you may not even know Alan Parsons Project, Sirius. You may not know it. It's Sirius. I pay for that. What are you talking about? A lot of you may not know that, but FIFA 97 is Blur. Thank you on Twitch. Or 96, one of the two. So that's a big theme song for FIFA, which of course is global. So maybe Joe Reedy has thoughts on this. I know his thoughts on the Chargers coming up next.
Ready to own your first real home? The road to unrenting can get a bit rocky. It takes a reliable partner to right wrong turns.
Okay.
That's the role of a realtor, an expert voice of reason helping you navigate the rigmarole of real estate, a trusted ally who knows and represents your rights, so you get all the right guidance on your journey home. Is your agent a realtor? Look for the R. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
O'Reilly. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts for our spring break deals on lawn and garden batteries, wiper blades, brake kits, and more. Ready for an oil change? Get 5 parts of Valvoline conventional or Max Life motor oil and a MicroGuard filter for $28.99. Plus, get a $7 gift card after mail-in rebate. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. As the novel coronavirus pandemic escalates in the U.S., public health officials are encouraging those who are experiencing signs or symptoms of COVID-19, such as coughing or fever, to seek medical guidance remotely. If you or a loved one are feeling sick or are just feeling worried, there is a way to get help without leaving home. Ro, the parent company of Roman, is offering free telehealth services for people seeking guidance and information on COVID-19. The service is available free of charge in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. Ro's free online assessment will help determine if you are at risk, and if appropriate, Ro will connect you with a medical provider for a free consultation. The assessment is designed by doctors and infectious disease experts and is based on guidelines from the CDC and the World Health Organization. Visit ro.co/coronavirus on your phone or laptop to complete a free online assessment or to just learn more. If you're worried that you may be experiencing symptoms, go to ro.co/coronavirus to start your free assessment today. That's ro.co/coronavirus.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. During the challenging times we're all experiencing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that'll never change is our commitment to giving you the best mortgage experience. At Rocket Mortgage, our guiding philosophy of every client, every time, no exceptions, no excuses, exists for times like right now. We understand that hardships may arise, and we're prepared to help. If you currently work with us and need assistance with your
I'm still trying to get Joe.
Okay.
7 at rocketmortgage.com. As we all think about ways to save money, let me remind you that mortgage rates are near historic lows. If you think right now is the right time to refinance your mortgage, our home loan experts
Hi, the
are
Tiger.
available to help you
Ugh.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week at rocketmortgage.com.
Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender.
That's not a terrible one.
NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030.
Hi, Joe. Hey, this is John with SB Nation Radio. How you doing? I'm doing great. Could I just give me a huge favor?
This is SB Nation
some
Radio,
reason, I'm
And
not
SBNationRadio.com.
presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans, live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios. Here's Eitan Shander.
A lot of people are actually going the opposite way, I thought, on one of the many Twitter questions we've thrown out at Shander Show. Joe Reedy will join us momentarily. At Joe Reedy, of course. Associated Press covers all things sports in LA. We'll reintroduce him as well. One of the things that came up in that competitive eating challenge was the next round. First round was 2 pounds of bologna. Second round, 48 Oreos, half gallon of milk. And we threw out $1,000, 90 seconds. Could you inhale 48 Oreos? And a lot of people said without milk. And of course, that's the stipulation here. No. I thought people would be like blustering. Oh, yeah, of course. Absolutely, I can. There's no problem whatsoever for me to do that. And here we go. Our poll going exactly the way in which I thought. It would only take a little bit. And I'm curious because we'll ask Joe this at some point. Bigger questions, of course, at hand. Joe Reedy covers all things sports for the Associated Press out in Los Angeles at Joe Reedy, 2 E's on Twitter. Joe, Eitan Shander, second level here at SB Nation Radio. I appreciate the time today. First and foremost, man, how are you out in LA? How's things for you personally, your family, and really the city?
I'm doing good. I think with the city, everybody's still trying to figure out with the rules with Mayor Garcetti, with the shelter in place, what things mean for the future. I know there were reports that one of the things discussed was no concerts, no sporting events for the rest of the calendar year 2020. What that means for football, since the stadium is located in Inglewood, we really don't know at the moment since Inglewood actually has a mayor of their own. But, hopefully things are flattening. I think for California, probably besides Mayor Newsom, any keys to see will probably be with San Francisco in that area since they were the strictest of lockdown as far as the 7 counties. So, still kind of a wait and see, but knock on wood, everything so far so good.
And it sounds like, based on how you were laying it out compared to early reports, that even if something in a radius of LA, the city itself, is excluded, the ability to move to areas and play, if it's an NBA game or baseball, that's not ruled out entirely, which, again, nobody's going to have a pinpoint date, right? Say, well, it's going to be June 18th. But it seems like even if LA itself is ruled out, professional sports or even collegiate sports not in front of fans is still a possibility in California.
Yeah, I think without fans, that's definitely going to be the way to go. Now, whether that means even without fans, will things be shut down in LA proper? Who knows? And then you wonder whether Anaheim, since they have the Honda Center, does that become a likely venue? Does the LA Forum become a venue since that's in Inglewood? You start getting into, I think, how much control does the city of Inglewood have as far as being able to hold events since it's in Los Angeles County, and how much shared services go into effect with things there, whether that would put pressure on everything or not. But I know the first event at SoFi Stadium 2 nights of the Taylor Swift concert, she has canceled all concerts for the rest of the year. So, I think with everything, the NFL, what way are they going to go? And I really think somebody asked me how I thought the NFL was going to go. I think they're going to take cues from other sports leagues, and I think really right now the league that everybody is looking to as far as its cues and everything is the NBA and Adam Silver.
Absolutely.
Since he came down and shut things down, and Adam seems to be ahead of the curve really on everything. Just even non-COVID-19, a lot of leagues take their cues from him.
It's refreshing to hear a commissioner come out and say, I don't know, as opposed to doom and gloom or we'll be open tomorrow. It's actually refreshing to hear somebody say, talk to me in May, and I still may not even know. You mentioned the push, though, for the NBA, and I wonder, you're in a city right now where I would imagine, look, even here, I'm in Philadelphia, and there's a little bit of apprehension for the season to return in the postseason because the Sixers could get knocked out in the first round of whatever makeshift playoff they create. Meanwhile, you have not only one, but 2 teams that are odds-on favorites outside of Milwaukee, right, to win this whole thing. If it's a regular season in playoffs or if it's a small micro season in a bubble to name the championship, is there a lot of local push, assuming that it's not going to be in LA, but is there a lot of local push from fans and maybe media alike, Joe, to get this thing back because it's pretty realistic that a Lakers or Clippers team can win it? I imagine people in Atlanta, Cleveland, Detroit are not screaming for the NBA to return like in LA.
Yeah, I think with NBA too, everybody before this was if you were an NBA writer in LA, you were looking to work through at least early June, no matter which team you covered, because the odds were very good that you were going to get a Clippers-Lakers Western Conference Final. and then the NBA finals in late June. But I think right now everybody is kind of, still on pins and needles, wondering what is going to happen. And when you get the health numbers and everything, I think, you and Philly and just seeing things on the East Coast and everything, each time you think there's an apex to the plateau and things are going to be trending down, you have another spike in cases. Now, whether that's more numbers from a day or two ago were found in nursing homes or what have you, or, large plants, I think the meat packing plants and everything, there's been a spike in cases, just the numbers and everything. And, there's the whole, how do we test to make sure that these guys who are going to be in a bubble are healthy and everything. I just think right now there's more questions than answers, but I think once the states get their cues and everything, hopefully the more questions, the better. And hopefully a month from now, we'll know whether we're starting in it. Because I think anything that starts right now isn't going to be until June 1st. And I truly think with NBA and NHL, we're just going to go straight into a postseason no matter what.
Joe Reedy joining us at Joe Reedy, Associated Press in LA, at Shander Show for me here on SB Nation Radio. Chargers locked into that pick, Joe, or do you think that there's a good chance they trade out either up or down?
I think there's a good chance that they trade up because to me, the draft begins at number 3. I think the Bengals, Joe Burrow, the Redskins, Chase Young. To me, the real interesting thing is the draft. The draft to me begins with Detroit. The Chargers could trade up in the Detroit spot because I think everybody thinks that the Lions are going to take the defensive back with the signing of Chris Harris Jr. Desmond King is in the final year of his contract and could be in a pretty good chance to be traded not only as a defensive back, but he's a valuable kick and punt returner. Could Detroit make a deal in order to move up to 3 to get the quarterback that they want? And, with all the smoke screens right now, is it Justin Herbert? Is it Tua Tagovailoa? You really don't know. I think for the Chargers, since they're confident in Tyrod Taylor right now, Tua would make the most sense for him because there's no pressure to start right away. He can redshirt, rehab on his own time, and there's enough of a star factor with him too that, for a team moving into a new stadium and desperate to sell seats, even when they had Phillip Rivers, that would have lent a little bit of star power to them.
What happens if they get outbid, let's say, and it's Miami who moves up and snags Tua? Is the expectation at that point that they stay there and take Herbert or maybe Love?
I think Herbert. I think Love to me at 6 would be too much of a. I think too much of a
reach
risk.
Yeah.
I think that then you look at maybe trading down. It's a very wide receiver rich draft, and there's a lot of teams that want receivers. I think offensive line is a definite need at 6, especially a left tackle. The Becton kid from Louisville right now is the only one who has played left tackle the majority of his time in college. But is he too much of a risk at 6? I think more around 10 or 11 makes more sense for him. But if he's best player available on your board, and then you look at all of the moving and everything, what if Isaiah Simmons is there at 6? I mean, 2 years ago, Chargers got extremely. Derwin James fell into their lap at 17. Could lightning strike for the second time in 3 years, and they can get a stud defensive product that should be a top 3 or top 4 pick, and is there at 6?
Is there a scenario that you've worked through, Joe, in which the Chargers trade back?
Yeah, I think so. If both QBs are there and they don't value the offensive lineman at 6, I think that absolutely they trade down, because I think there's a lot of teams with receivers with speed that will want to trade up, and I think with defensive linemen too, there's there are some guys. This is a team that, while it is selecting high in each round, they don't have a lot of draft picks. It's your standard 7 picks. So if you can, accumulate some capital and trade back, then I think it's very likely.
Joe, I'm curious just to get your thoughts on The Last Dance and the Jordan documentary, Bulls, of course, as well, that final year. It's for a lot of us who are, older than 30. I feel like it's reliving things that were there with some little nuggets, some little tidbits in there. Maybe for younger people, it's a nice introduction to Jordan and the Bulls in the final year. But just overall, what are you really anticipating or looking forward to maybe that would stand out in this documentary from what you've heard leading up to it?
Just the drama. I think a lot of people forget with that 98 team that, Phil was already known that was his last year. Jerry and Reinsdorf were going to blow the team up. There was a lot of friction that year, just to kind of, with NBA Entertainment and ESPN and the different factions that have gotten together to produce this documentary, kind of to be the fly on the wall, to kind of see a team that was definitely their last year and was going to be broken up, just how they approached everything. I think, as the years have gone by, everybody kind of forgets all that drama and everything. And, for the Bulls, probably the best thing that happened to them after winning that 98 title was the lockout, because there would have been a lot more pressure on Tim Floyd in that collection that they brought together in a full season. And I mean, granted, the Bulls for 4 or 5 years were disastrous, but could you have imagined 3 months after winning the 3rd straight NBA title, that team that Jerry Krause and everybody put on the floor, just to have the pressure for a full 82-game season and trying to live up to that?
Crazy. Joe, I've got about 90 seconds, and this is awesome. I really appreciate the time throughout all what we've discussed. But curious, we were throwing this around earlier. Whose legacy suffered the most in the NBA because of Jordan and the Bulls?
I think Utah. I think the Stockton Malone teams and Jerry Sloan. I think Jerry Sloan was very underrated as an NBA coach, and the fact that 2 out of 3 years they were the ones that had to go up and face the Bulls in the finals. I think that for Carl and John, the fact that they couldn't get an NBA title, that's the only thing lacking in their legacy and in their memories. And kind of when you talk about teams of the 90s and everything, there's a lot of talk about the Knicks and the Bulls and maybe the Cavs for a year or two, but nobody really talks about Utah.
Awesome, Joe. Thank you so much. Stay safe, and appreciate your time tonight.
No problem. Anytime.
All right. At Joe Reedy is how you follow him on Twitter. At Shander Show for me. Twitch.tv/Shander Shows. How you can watch along. We'll wrap the hour next here.
Wake up call.
Awesome, man. He's fantastic. Thank you.
Basketball knowledge too.
Yeah, I figure that's the beauty of somebody with AP. He's going to be, and also I saw he's from Northeast Ohio, that kind of like Eastern Midwest area. So,
about a time before mine.
but he's just a good talker,
And the skipper bring.
Yeah, I like him. I just found him today.
Yeah, definitely, man. He's fantastic.
Those old Boston Red Stockings.
So tomorrow, just thinking about this here, you can tweet the final hour. You can tweet Dolphins and Tua, the 2020 word of the year, and first NFL head coach to be fired. We don't need to promote the actual guest. That's fine, because I can say that they were, back on.
With Tony D and Ron Colbert, weekday mornings. Bump Phillips, Earl
But for
Campbell,
tomorrow,
Dan Castorini, the Love You
if
Blue
you want to
Era
grab
Houston
2
Oilers,
people, that would be
experience
great.
1970.
And then
You said 2020 word of the year, Tua and the Dolphins. What was the third one?
first NFL head coach to be fired.
Oilers season, featuring player interviews and new insights. Step into the huddle for legendary games against the Steelers and Cowboys and relive one of the most controversial plays ever, the Mike Renfro play. Red, white, and Columbia blue. Download now at Houston79.com. This is Straight Heat.
Kevin Durant went on the All the Smoke podcast and decided to tell why he left Oklahoma City. In OKC, I played with a lot of athletes. I didn't play with a lot of skilled guys, not like shooters, ball handlers. I was like, I need to change. And this was before the season even started. I was tired of having to be the only guy that can make threes, make jump shots, and consistently win. This isn't, as much as he meant this as a put down to Russ and Ibaka and all the guys on that team, this is a put down on himself. He wasn't good enough to be the man, and he just told you so.
Straight Heat with Patrick Creighton. Weekdays from 1 a.m. to 6 a.m. Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Radio. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. This is SB Nation Radio.
And SBNationRadio.com.
Presented by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Live from the O'Reilly Auto Parts Studios.
Mike's out.
Chander.
Every now and again, you get some numbers, you get a story with some data, you get something that comes out that's backed up by a poll, which is a little looser than some of the data presented in this story, and it just doesn't add up. And maybe it's because it hasn't transferred, and I don't even want to use the term yet, but it just hasn't transferred. I don't think it will. Meaning, I think we'll be back to normal before the time it will take for horse racing to be a normalized sport. Boxing, UFC, if they're wrestling, if they're able to take advantage of this downtime, as you see Dana White is trying effortlessly, it seems at times, versus like everything he can possibly give and continues to get struck down. McMahon trying to end around the ridiculous handling of the XFL, and now in Florida where there might be life. All of that aside, I don't think horse racing is anywhere close to where those sports are. And despite seeing some ratings spike for FS1 to NBC Sports as well, it's hard for me to think that that's transferring over into legit betting, and it will be something sustainable. Dana White creates this fight island, whatever the hell he's trying to build in this mysterious land of Westworld. That could actually sustain a little bit. That could actually be something that you could turn into an event even after this thing is over that we're going through. Horse racing, if it hasn't picked up and normalized now, I don't think it will. Final hour next. All right, man.
All right.
I'll be right back.
Wake up call. Tom Brady is going to be living at Jeter's house.
First thought went through my mind, what if you need to replace the dishwasher? Is that Jeter's problem or is that Brady's problem? Does Brady sit there and like, hey, Jeter, you need to take care of this. I'm not going to pay you rent.
So when Brady goes in to Jeter's house and Jeter goes, yeah, the cell phone goes in the basket. He goes, oh, no. I already went down this road before with the NFL. No chance. This phone's not going anywhere near that basket.
Wake up call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Pushing the odds with Matt Perrault.
Brett Murphy from Stadium joining us here, pushing the odds. What are you hearing from athletic directors and coaches about their preparations for what may or may not happen coming up this fall?
As far as the athletic directors, I mean, they've got a number of contingency plans, whether that starts in late August as scheduled or maybe even gets pushed back to the spring. The NFL to play football does not need to bring back 40,000 students on campus. College football does. But I just think it's very unrealistic that all of these major university presidents will feel confident enough to say, you know what, to all of our students all over the world, it's now safe to come back on campus and take your fall classes. But make no mistake, they will find out some way to get this season done, which could mean the semifinals from the Rose Bowl and the Sugar Bowl and the national title game from Miami going on maybe as late as Memorial Day.
Pushing the Odds with Matt Peralt, weekday afternoons from 1 to 4 Eastern on SB Nation Radio.
Hey everybody, RJ Ochoa here from SB Nation's bloggingtheboys.com, your home for the best Dallas Cowboys coverage on the web. And did you know that we have a podcast feed? The Blogging the Boys podcast feed has daily episodes breaking down the latest and greatest in the world of America's team. We have multiple shows, multiple analysts, including a Super Bowl winner, two-time Super Bowl champion Tony Casillas is part of our rotation, and we want to make sure you are as well. We're available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcast. So don't miss out. Subscribe to the Blogging the Boys podcast feed today.
Wake up call. Wimbledon has been paying out $2 million every year for the past 17 years on insurance for a pandemic. And so they paid $34 million into this insurance. They're going to collect over $100 million from the insurance policy.
Yeah. How much easier was it for them to cancel the tournament once knowing that?
Shame on me because I thought it was grass. Thought it was
grass.
Yeah, like you got to dried out grass in August or the fall. You can't hold Wimbledon on its grass court. Little did I know that this was an easy decision to cancel this bad boy and collect themselves $100+ million. Oh, we won't be having Wimbledon this year. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Great. The ayes have it. Anybody want to process that claim?
Wake Up Call with Tony D and Ron Culver. Weekday mornings. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com, a brand new website for anyone interested in what's happening in the world of automobiles. From reviews on the latest vehicles to vintage rides to tips on keeping your family safe on the road, AutomotiveMap.com has something for you. If you love cars, trucks, and SUVs, and the amazing technology hitting your favorite showroom, check out the brand new AutomotiveMap.com. SB Nation Tonight with John Michaels.
Do you want to run? So we'll run. Do you want to run the Josh in it, the first one?
Probably have to learn
Here.
how to do one of those shooting events.
Whichever one you want to do first. I got both of them sitting here. Adam Thompson and Josh Houts.
Yeah, let's do Houts first because that's Miami, and Tua. Nothing's changed, and it was pretty good on everything. So I can.
Swimming?
Is it
No.
all
And answer
enclosed,
what
or should I pitch to it?
No, you got the little 3-minute segment, and then you're good to go until we come back for that third segment.
Okay, perfect.
I'd have a shot to play some ping pong against somebody. Although, actually, no. Those dudes are like 40 feet off the table, and they're and that thing's like the ball's just flying everywhere. I could never do that either. So I don't think there's anything I could do in the Olympics.
SB Nation Tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Tonight with John Michaels.
We don't know that 16 days from now, things might not be trending in a good direction. I'm going to continue to take the glass half full approach. I'm continuing to plan as if college football and pro football is going to happen in the fall, and that we're going to have the NBA by June at some point. I'm thinking by June we're going to have NBA back and baseball will be up and running. We may be playing in front of empty gyms for a while. So be it.
SB Nation Tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. SB Nation Tonight with John Michaels.
We don't know that 16 days from now, things might not be trending in a good direction. I'm going to continue to take the glass half full approach. I'm continuing to plan as if college football and pro football is going to happen in the fall, and that we're going to have the NBA by June at some point. I'm thinking by June we're going to have NBA back and baseball will be up and running. We may be playing in front of empty gyms for a while. So be it.
SB Nation Tonight, weeknights at 10 Eastern on SB Nation Radio. Introducing AutomotiveMap.com.